The city of Kenosha, Wisconsin, still recovering from its violent and destructive anti-police riots 2 years ago. Congressman Bryan Steil joins us now, breaking down the rebuilding efforts of that city. Congressman, welcome to the show. It's good to see you this evening. Okay, so it's been 2 years since we've seen this city fall apart. $50 million in damages there. The city's budget only being $86 million. Unbelievable. What was it like walking the streets today? Has the city recovered?
I'm in Kenosha regularly. It's part of the 1st Congressional District. But let me tell you, the scars still remain. Kenosha is a wonderful community, family-loving, hardworking community. But at the same time, the scars from the riots still prevail. We saw areas in the city that are boarded up. We saw areas in the city where the streets still have burn marks from events like you're showing on TV right now, where cars were set on fire, where buildings were set on fire. But let me tell you also, so many people in the community of Kenosha remember how they felt those 3 nights when our Democratic governor failed to provide the resources that were required, the fear that they felt, the fear their neighbors felt, and those types of scars are long lasting.
So you also met with, I believe, the Kenosha Police Union, local law enforcement there. We saw, after what happened in that summer of riots, defund the police across the country. How has that impacted their morale? Have they recovered?
You know, many of these men and women who signed up to serve our community, to keep us safe, they've really done yeoman's work. The challenge was, for 3 nights, they were wildly overwhelmed. The entire Kenosha Police Department, their total sworn officer force is a little over 200 officers. That's woefully inadequate in a situation where complete anarchy and riots break out. It's the reason that our Democratic governor needed to provide the resources that were needed to keep the community safe. And I think where the police felt is they felt abandoned by Democratic leadership in the state of Wisconsin at an exact moment in time where they needed to feel support, where they needed additional resources. And the citizens in the community of Kenosha are the ones who ultimately suffered. They not only suffered from buildings that were destroyed by the rioters, they not only suffered from physical damage that took place to these types of buildings, but many people were seriously injured. Some individuals ultimately were killed. And what we need to do is look back and recognize it was failed Democratic leadership that led to this, not only putting forward inflammatory statements the first evening of events, but then following that, failing to provide the resources that were required to reestablish public safety. Again, Kenosha is a city of roughly 100,000 people. Sworn police force is roughly 200 people. The Kenosha County Sheriff's Department has a little around 125. This is a moment in time where we need to ring the bell and bring in help. And instead, our Democratic leadership in this state continued with the national narrative that these types of riots and events were okay. They're anything but. People were seriously injured, buildings were destroyed, and ultimately, this is a scar left on the people of Kenosha by Democrats.
Beyond raising awareness, as you did today, what do small businesses need? What is this community still looking for?
Yeah, I'll tell you in one word, Republican leadership. What we have in the state of Wisconsin coming up is a huge governor's election, and it's reflective of the elections that are going to take place across the United States of America. That are those of us on the right who are calling for folks to stand with the men and women of law enforcement, to make sure our law enforcement officers have the resources they need to keep our communities safe. And there's those on the far left that continue to make calls to defund the police, refuse to stand with the men and women of law enforcement. And so this November, we have a huge choice that Americans are going to be making, just like folks in the community of Kenosha are going to be making. And do we want to turn the tide and ultimately hold these Democratic office holders accountable for the disastrous decisions that they made in the summer of 2020?
Congressman Bryan Steil, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Well, coming up, there is a new call for unity. But is this just another cry wolf? Our company breaks down the hypocrisy next.